Hey everyone, it's Susan Pierce Thompson and welcome to the weekly vlog. So we've had more people start the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp recently than we will probably have start the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp at any other month this year. And not just the bootcamp, but the 14-day challenge, buying the book. The book got sold out everywhere. Amazon's on back order. They're having to run a whole nother print of them because every Barnes & Noble and Amazon is all sold out. So this, we released the food freedom videos into the world, this huge rush of people starting Bright Line Eating, which is awesome. Umpty thousands of people started Bright Line Eating just recently. So for the vlog, I'm thinking about topics that relate to someone starting their Bright Line Eating journey. And in the midst of all this, this dude sent me a private Facebook message. And he's like, hey, loving your stuff. Just, got your book, was reading it, just signed into the boot camp, hopped in there. It's going great. I'm a thought leader with a big tribe and, just been wanting to tackle this issue for a long time. It's a lifelong issue and really grateful for your work. Just wanted to say. This guy named James Levesque. And thought leader with a big tribe. I was like, I relate to that. Let's Google him, see what he does, see who he is. James Levesque's a preacher. Cool. So I check him out online a little bit. I listen to one of his podcasts. He's got a top podcast on iTunes. And I liked his stuff. Sounded good. So I messaged him back. So glad you started. He messaged me back. And then he said, hey, I'd like to look into your private coaching option. I messaged him back. I was like, really, dude, that's $50,000 a year. You want to, you're in the boot camp. You don't, tell me what you think you would get for $50,000 a year that you wouldn't already get in the boot camp. I'm not sure it's cost effective, right? He's like, whoa, I didn't know it's $50,000. Yeah, let's not do that. And then I said, well, but I'm here for you. What I said to him was, you don't need to hire me as a coach. I become friends with a lot of the people who do Bright Line Eating because, like that old commercial says, I'm not just the president of the hair club for men. I'm also a client, right? Seriously, I do this. So a lot of my running mates are all my best friends pretty much, except for 3 or 4 oldie and goodies, from the past are in Bright Line Eating. So, so we started messaging each other and, we get along like a house on fire, just so well. Love this guy. And what I started to realize is I was getting a feeling from him that I don't feel very often, which is a feeling of being met, understood on many different levels really thoroughly. Because James Levesque was a heroin addict at age 14, selling crack at age 15, and has been completely clean since he was a teenager. He's in his late 30s now, clean. And he was just delivered, right? So for him, that's a Christian narrative, right? For me, it's a 12-step narrative, whatever. Basically same narrative. I was lost and now I'm found, right? However you get there, lost and found. When you haven't spent day upon night upon day upon night upon day upon night in a crack house, there's no way to convey that experience to someone who hasn't done it. When you haven't risen out of the ashes of just a completely depraved, horrific existence to a life of service and success and well-being and, spreading some kind of message to people, there's no way to there's no shortcut to understanding that. You can think you understand it, but if you haven't done it, it's like a lot of what we do around here at Bright Line Eating. Someone who's a 10 on the susceptibility scale, they're not going to be really understood by someone who's a 2 on the susceptibility scale. My husband has come a long way as a 3 on the susceptibility scale to understanding why it is that my brain works the way it does with food, but he'll never get it. Now, he's got things that I'll never get too, right? People are very different, right? But that's exactly what I mean. This thing about being met in many different ways. So James Levesque used to be a drug addict, is now a thought leader with a big tribe. He's got about as many employees as I've got. And we run organizations that carry a message that we try to do good things in the world. We're mission driven, right? And he's got this food thing. I was like, are you a 10 on the susceptibility scale? He laughed. He's like, Susan, I'm like a 20. I laughed. I was like, dude, I get it, right? So we're talking about his weight. It's like 305 pounds he starts at. He used to be 320, lost weight down to 226, gained it all back. So devastating. So he's losing weight hand over fist in the boot camp, and he's super stoked about it, right? I'm like, how tall are you? He's like 5'7", about. I'm like, this dude has no idea what his goal weight is. He's hoping to get under 200. I'm like, okay, we'll see. I didn't even say, okay, what I think your goal weight is. I didn't even say it. Didn't even say it. Freak him out. Under 200 freaks him out already. I'm like, all right, we'll peg 200 for now. We'll see. So I love this. I love watching people transform. So this guy and I, we have all this stuff in common, right? Real early, I bring up the wife thing. I'm like, how's your wife? Because we're talking a lot. Like, is she cool? Because my husband's cool. We're good. He's like, oh no, Susan, my wife's not jealous. She loves you. She loves Bright Line Eating. She was worried about me dying. Like, she's, she's hugging a man at night who's 305 pounds in bed. She wants me to have this solution. Like, her view is like, the Lord delivered you to me. And she is considering it an extra blessing that you're, giving me this sort of extra attention. It's all good. She's so happy. I'm like, cool, beautiful. So what I want to invite you to consider as you start your Bright Line Eating journey is what friendships, I mean like real friendships, because I can feel this thing with James Levesque. Like, this dude, he's going to turn into a lifelong friend. I can feel it. I've known him for 5 seconds. Doesn't matter. I can feel it. What I want you to consider as you do Bright Line Eating is how powerful it is to have the food thing in common with someone. Because you'll meet people in Bright Line Eating who get you on the food, weight, food obsession, struggles with weight thing. And for a lot of us, that thing has taken up a shocking proportion of our thoughts, actions, concerns, attention, energy, right? Shocking proportion. If someone's never dealt with food and weight to that degree, they just don't know, right? That doesn't mean you can't have a lot of other stuff in common with them. Maybe you both have 5 kids, maybe whatever, right? But if you have the food thing in common and you both have 5 kids, okay, now this is a basis for like some deep relating. Someone who meets you on a lot of levels. Even like 2 really good, deep connections. Say you have whatever, a certain community in common, whether it's a faith community, it could be anything. It could be your religion or it could be a movie meetup group that you both go to every Saturday night that you've been going to forever and you love, right? But that's not enough for a lifelong friendship. You've got to have some more similarity too. They got to meet you on a few other levels, right? So as you're in Bright Line Eating, let's say that you're not the typical cookie cutter, all right? Now I'll just say the typical cookie cutter in Bright Line Eating is like, a 60-year-old, very well educated, upper middle class white woman who lives in America. That's just the tip. That's, you want to just cut the cookie. That's what it is. Oh, I shouldn't be using that word. Anyway, whatever. You know what I mean. Now let's imagine that you're a 25-year-old black woman. Let's imagine that you're a 38-year-old preacher with tattoos all over his body, who's a guy. Let's imagine that you're whatever, Muslim, you're bulimic, you're whatever, right? Like you got some trait that you feel, you live in some country that's not the United States. You got some trait, attribute, factor, whatever, that you feel sets you apart and makes you feel like, I'm not sure that I belong here. Maybe you're low on the susceptibility scale. Maybe you're whatever. Could be anything. For me, it's that I lead Bright Line Eating. I'm not just a member, right? I have this special status. That's what sets me apart. Whatever. If you're not engaging in your boot camp house. Now, I'm assuming you're in the boot camp. If you're not in the boot camp, this might not apply to you as much. But if you're not engaging with other people who do Bright Line Eating, in the boot camp house, it's like posting, right? Because you feel like you're different. What about the one or two other people who are feeling different, maybe in that same way, and they're not benefiting from seeing your posts, right? And if you knew that you had that in common and the food and weight thing in common and now Bright Line Eating in common, the food and weight struggles, now a common solution, now you have one or two other similarities, like this could be a lifelong friend that you could meet. Lifelong friend. Let's imagine you're not in the boot camp. People around you probably already have other similarities too. They live in the same place. Maybe you're friends in another way. They start doing Bright Line Eating, there you go. Like you have this bond now, this similarity. So I just want to make sure that you don't miss opportunities for deep connection with people who meet you on a lot of levels, because people in Bright Line Eating have the potential to meet you on a really powerful level. And then you add another couple things into the mix, and it could feel like you just met your brother from another mother, right? So anyway, just wanted to share that little story because it's amazing when we meet people that have been on a journey that is so similar to ours, and we're so much more likely to meet them in Bright Line Eating. So that's the weekly vlog. I'll see you next week.